Hey everyone, welcome to the Granite Mountain Movie Club. Today we're going to be talking about Marty Supreme, the recent movie from Josh Safdie. I've got degree studies here in Arturo, so you know it's going to be a good one. And thanks for your patience. It's been, 5 or 6 weeks since I put on an episode. Busy travel over the holidays and New Year, but we're back. We're going to have a good year. And of course, check out exitgroup.us. They're the sponsor of this show. If you don't know what Exit is, I'm looking at their site right now. It says Exit is a fraternity of like-minded men who take a short position in the present system and build for what comes next. If that sounds interesting to you, if that makes sense to you, go check out exitgroup.us. And with that, enjoy the show. Hey, welcome, Degree Studies.
Hey, how's it going?
And Arturo, how you doing?
Hello. I'm doing very well. I'm feeling very supreme right now.
Yeah. So this is my first episode of 2026. I'm thankful to the listeners of the show who have stayed subscribed. You know, I especially mean the paid subscribers. I didn't pod for I think it's like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I didn't lose any. I didn't lose any paid subscribers, and I do lose them periodically, but I didn't lose any over this period. So, big thanks to the listeners who are staying with me.
Yeah,
it's good to be back.
They held it down just like Rachel held, Marty down through the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah. So, how you guys been doing? We had the holidays. It's a new year.
I'm trying to get on Ozempic, and I paid Hims for Ozempic, but unbeknownst to me, there's an Ozempic shortage. So they're charging me like every 5 weeks, but the Ozempic has not arrived. So that's my life right now.
Let's see.
Well, all the people on Twitter are saying that what's like the new one that they like, retarditude or something.
Retatrutide, I think it's pronounced.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was born with a really high level of retarditude, so I'm not able to take supplemental retarditude.
Yeah. Well, it's maybe you can. I'm going to look up retarditude, see how much it costs. But yeah, like I say, good to have you guys back. We're talking about Marty Supreme today, which is I went on record saying that 2025 was not a great movie year. I don't think it was terrible. I did say it was a dud. I think I overstated it there, which turned out good for my impressions on X.com. People got pretty worked up about that, but I would say Marty Supreme. That's one of the ones I was really looking forward to all year. And before I say what I thought about it, what did you guys think? Were you guys Marty supremacists by the end?
Well, like you, I was also looking forward to it. I enjoyed a lot of movies last year. I mean, obviously some were less than others, but I don't think it's exaggerating to say that. Yeah, I mean, if this movie had sucked, it would have negatively colored my opinion of the whole year in a significant way. I had a lot invested in it psychically, and I think it more or less lived up to it. I was, when expectations are so high, it is hard to not like sort of find things that don't live up to it. But in a weird way, it usually when I want a movie to sort of like surprise me, and I feel like this movie basically was what I sort of anticipated that it would be, which is a Safdie movie, but about a tennis player in the 50s, played by Timothy Chalamet, who gets into crazy adventures. But it was it was exactly what it says in the tin, but in a very satisfying way. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and we'll get into the specificity of those adventures and how we felt about it. But I don't know, I left the theater like feeling satisfied. So that's all you can ask for.
Were you dreaming big?
Definitely, and not dreaming in the way of I fell asleep during the movie, because sometimes happens.
Degree studies. What did you think of it?
Well, it's interesting listening to Arturo. I sort of realized that I think as an old man, as Unk, I'm in a really good place with pop culture where like I'm not tuned in enough to have expectations of things. Like I think that I like Josh Safdie and I like Timothy Chalamet, but I don't get like super I didn't know a lot about this movie. People talked about it on Twitter, obviously, and then when it came out, I saw some of the reviews saying like, yeah, this is, especially because the Safdie brothers broke up. I guess one thing I saw was people saying, "Oh, this is the Safdie who has the Safdie magic," because there's some resonance with Good Time and Uncut Gems here, and I liked those movies a lot, so I was excited in that vein. But all that is to say, just I think sometimes things, at least for me, have like a struggle to live up to the weight of expectations. But for this, I didn't have huge expectations beyond just that I thought it might be a quite enjoyable movie. And similar to Arturo, yeah, I thought it was really fun. Something about the music and the scale of it and like the vibe is, I think, extremely enjoyable.
Yeah, so I've been a little bit invested this year in, we did that conversation about One Battle After Another, and since it came out, it was the immediate Oscar front runner, and Oscars don't they don't necessarily matter. Like they do and they don't, and but for whatever reason, I was, as we spoke on record, I was not a huge fan of One Battle After Another, but it was the Oscar frontrunner, so I wanted to see something displace it. I wanted to see something knock it out of its place, and I was really hoping this could do that. And I think in every way, more or less, it is a better movie, and it even is better in ways that I think normally the Academy would respond to. For some reason, though, it didn't make landfall quite like I thought it would, at least in terms of the Oscar stuff. So it looks like One Battle has the clear path to victory still, but I think this is more or less the. It wasn't necessarily my favorite movie of the year, but um, it's sort of like the in the movie, and I think maybe we'll do the first. We'll go as long as we can without spoilers, um, but if you feel a need to do a spoiler, just go for it. And um, but in the movie, there's a sense in which Marty is sort of like the people's champion or something. This is maybe like the people's Oscar Best Picture. Like it's much better than probably whatever will win
I mean,
the Best
Avatar
Picture.
3 is the people's Oscar, but sure.
Well, I could see
The
that. Yeah,
people
yeah, I
of
could see that.
Pandora, I guess.
Yeah, and we need to cover that because I had a lot of fun with Avatar 3.
Yeah. There
Um,
there are two things that I wanted to sort of respond to. One is the Oscar thing. Oscar nominations are actually coming out the day after we record this, which I guess will probably be around when you put it out. So I think I suspect that Marty Supreme will still get like a fair bit of. It's not like it'll be totally shut out. I think it's going to get a lot of nominations. I'm like almost certain that Chalamet will win. So
yeah.
I do think that like while it's ultimately One Battle After Another, I do feel like the head start that it got definitely helped. And that's another sort of thing to the extent that Oscars matter. I guess traditionally, Oscar movies usually come out in December, but I feel like, or towards the end of the year, but One Battle After Another coming out in like September, I feel like helped it a lot. Because it
Hmm.
makes more sense to me. It's like if the earlier in the year the movie comes out, like the more momentum it can sort of withhold and maintain throughout. So I don't know why the fuck they waited till Christmas to put this one out. Maybe they weren't ready, but I mean, it's hey, sometimes you got to save the best for last. I don't know. And the other thing was that I do feel like part of why this movie, and I'm sure we'll talk about how the similarities to Good Time and Uncut Gems. I do feel like this is like a slightly softer edged one, and like that would definitely help with its Oscar. It's a little more, I wouldn't say humanist, but it's a little less cynical and bleak, which I don't know. Some people might discount that on a qualitative level, but I do feel like that definitely helps it with Oscar voters because those other two movies, as good as they were, might have been just a little too bleak for this level of mass, saturation. I feel like that's so. I do feel like this movie will have a fair bit of success at the Oscars, although maybe not as. I guess we'll have to figure out tomorrow how many it gets nominated for. But I think it's. I mean, it's been a financial success for sure. So I do think that like it's in basically every way except for actually walking away with like the trophies. This movie seems to have be succeeding right now.
Yeah. You mentioned Chalamet winning best actor.
Yeah.
Um, let's just start with his performance. He's doing a lot here. He's probably. I mean, is there a scene that he's not in?
I There might be one, but I don't think so.
Yeah,
He's in almost every frame.
yeah. He's basically in every frame of the movie. He's it's a verbose movie, so he's always talking. There's hardly any section of the movie where he is not talking. If he's not playing ping pong, he's or table tennis, he's talking.
Yeah.
Um, he's doing a lot. And I'm on this when this podcast started. I was not a fan of Chalamet, but he's more or less won me over. I still think he's maybe cast in more things than he's the best fit for, but he is. Actually, there's this thing where the Safdie brothers, and maybe especially Josh, it might appear they're really good at finding just people to put in their movies who fit like the aesthetic of the movie, and a lot of the time, it's like you just assume that was an actor, but some of the people they cast are not actors, and so I've long had this theory that like acting is a little bit fake, like it's more about like is it a good movie? Is it a good part? Acting is maybe a little overrated, but being in the right part for the person is underrated. Now you look at like Chalamet, and like when I look at him, that's where I'd say, okay, well, acting is not fake, acting's real because there's 100 things he can do. He can do any sort of character, and a lot of the other people in these movies can maybe just do the one thing that they are put there to do. Um, but yeah, I think he's excellent. He does an incredibly good job. He's won me over the years, and yeah, I thought it was a very fun performance.
That's a
I
good
have
way
a,
of putting it. You go first.
I just had a question because you guys read more about the movies. Is there any lore? Because this will affect whether I endorse him for the Oscar or not. What did he do to learn to play ping pong? Are some of the scenes we see him actually being pretty good at ping pong, or was that all fake, or how did they do that?
From what I heard, he and after before even Uncut Gems came out in like 2018, Josh and Chalamet first started talking about the movie, and I guess he allegedly started taking ping pong lessons like in 2018. So he's been like preparing for this role for a long time. And for what Safdie says in interviews that I heard recently, there is a little bit of CGI juicing to like the speed of the ball, but like for the most part, he's really playing ping pong. So I think that I'm still a little more impressed by the Dylan thing last year, which I actually wanted to talk about that a little more. Him actually learning to sing and play songs as if he was Dylan, but he did a good amount of like real, like he really put the work in to be a ping pong player for this. I think.
Yeah, allegedly he on the Dune set he he had like his he ordered a table to be in his, I don't know, whatever, his hotel room or trailer. I don't know what they have out in like Morocco, but um and I think he even like would fly in his like his table tennis coach or something like that. And you never know with these things like what's just lore or myth making and what's real. Um
That's true,
and
but I
some
mean,
yeah,
we need people to want to be great. We need lore, we need bits for the
yeah,
modern age. So even if he's kind of juicy, even if he's kind of glazing himself a little much, he's what's the phrase? Milking it too much. That's fine by
yeah.
me.
Well, and maybe that's something we can get into too. Before we talk too much about the movie, we can talk a little bit about the promotion for the movie, which was clearly a success. But degree studies, I think you were gonna. Did you have something more to say about his performance?
Oh yeah, I. It's interesting. Uh, Arturo brought up the Dylan movie, which I really liked, and I really liked his performance in. And I think I have the exact same arc uh, with as you, Granite, with Chalamet. I did not like him in Lady Bird. I did not like this sort of like 80-pound New York kid being uh being given the crown as it seemed very overdetermined at the beginning. I can remember it was pretty shortly after Ladybird that people started talking about him as like he's got next or whatever, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? Like
Yeah,
he was sitting with a book in that movie. Like what did he do that earns any of this. So it seemed weird to me, like how, but yeah, he's slowly chipped away. And someone tweeted, some like normal film critic person, I think when the Marty Supreme uh, rap came out, uh, someone said like to be this overexposed, referring to Chalamet, and like not be annoying a critical mass of people yet is like a high wire act for the ages. And I thought that was a really good way to put it, because it's been 18 months or 24 months or something where like he's been everywhere. He's taking a lot of big swings. I am like a grumpy person who hates everything, and for the most part he's been charming me. So that's interesting and notable in and of itself. And then in terms of this movie, I have a little, I think because I liked the Dylan performance so much. You're so right, granted, that like acting is this weird thing that I don't even know what I'm looking for from it. But I think in this moment, I think his performance in Marty Supreme is really good. But for some reason, I almost have a demerit on it compared to something like his performance of Dylan, because I think he's more playing himself. And like he even said something on the red carpet, and maybe I just took this to heart too much and it changed how I perceived the movie, but he said this is the character he'd played that was most similar to him, or maybe a journalist prompted him with that and he agreed. But yeah, because I think like the Dylan movie was all about like, oh, he became this other person and had a style of speech that was very evocative of Dylan. And this movie was like, yeah, he's like an intense, little ambitious New York guy. Like that's what Timothy Chalamet is. So for some, that that doesn't mean I enjoyed it less. Like I really enjoyed his performance, but I don't want to credit it as like his best capital A acting. But maybe I'm just being stupid about what acting even is.
This is something I've wondered for a long time. I go back and forth all the time on what does it even mean to act good, and I extend that even to like directing. Like I don't get how they. Now someone listening might say, well, I think this is a dumb statement, but like when they award Oscars and stuff, it's like how do you know who the best director was? Like maybe I'm getting, you remember that Malcolm Gladwell thing where he's like, well, Harvard's not the best school. Like Penn State's the best school because
Yes.
Penn State takes like average kids and puts them in like the middle class, or like below average kids and puts them in the middle class, and Harvard takes upper class kids and puts them back in the upper class. Um, so like with a director, it's like, well, what if a director has terrible material, but he still pulls it off? Like, isn't he the best director? You know,
Like
like
coach of the year at NBA when it's like a
yeah,
shitty team. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Well, yeah,
yeah. So
no,
it's
I was just gonna bring up coaching because I think football coach and director are two of the biggest jobs in society where like really you're a mayor or you're running a small business,
yeah,
but like the public lore of the job is like, there are these people that we associate it with, like Belichick or Kubrick, where like the image is you staring in the camera and getting the shot, but probably unbeknownst to us. I mean, people will talk about this, how like even with Scorsese, aren't there people who say like there's film people who are like, oh, his longtime editor is a genius, and if he didn't have that editor, he'd probably be some like avant-garde also ran because he films like 6 hours and doesn't know what to do with what he has. And I assume there's lots of things like that in directing where
yeah,
you know that we know a little bit more about this with football coaches now, but like when I was a kid, I thought everything about football coaching was
Sideline.
you you
X's and O's. Yeah,
you design a brilliant play, like you call the hook and ladder. And then they started in like the last decade admitting on TV like, oh, he doesn't actually call the plays. And like, and so you'd get a little more insight into that it's like a management position and you have to choose skilled people around you. And I assume directing is similar where like even though the
Yes.
public we imagine it's all about like being virtuosic at the craft, and maybe there are some people that are like that, like Guillermo del Toro, or somebody who's so obsessive about how the scenery and the costumes look. But for many of them, it's like the really artful people might actually be working below the director. Sorry, that was long-winded, but you guys get what I'm saying.
No, it's perfectly said, and I think that the thing about directing is like, I mean, you have to have you have to be good at both, basically. Like, it's not just envisioning it, like it is like you have to actually make a real thing. You know, you have to actually actualize it, and like knowing that you have talented people around you, assembling them, like, and like getting them to trust you. Like, it's true that like Scorsese's editor, you know, without Thelma Schoonmaker, who knows what he would be, but at the same time, like, I mean, clearly those people know, like, I mean, they get to work with Scorsese. You know what I mean? It's not like they're being allowed to, what is it, you know, actualize themselves to their fullest potential. And like Scorsese has to know like when to deploy these people, or whatever director. You know, you read about people who like gave up their entire lives to like work with Kubrick for decades because they knew, you know, like I'm never ever gonna be around anybody who's like this talented ever again. So like why would I ever want to do anything else? And like that level of devotion, like, you know, being able to inspire that in someone, that syncretism, that almost impresses me more than this like auteur theory idea of, oh, they just have all these crazy ideas and like they're this, you know, artistic person. You know what I mean?
No,
Like,
yeah,
I
I
think the
love that.
management is great.
I love the idea that there were like 6 or 7, let's say, Steven Soderbergh level directors whose names we don't know because they decided their life would be better used working under Kubrick.
Yeah,
Like I
that's a good point.
yeah, I like, I think that's true of the Trump administration right now, if I can make a metaphor. Stephen Miller could clearly be the emperor himself, but he likes to serve the Golden King. So yeah, there's lots of things like that in life, and it's a super interesting dynamic. Like, could you be committed enough to the highest quality product that you'd want to sort of handicap your own personal ambitions to be part of something so special?
Well, and sorry to bring it back to the awards discussion, but I do wonder because like I think of yeah, like you said, directing is like a political or managerial role. And there's this quote. I swear someone told me this quote one time, and I've searched it a bunch of times, and it's like a fake quote. I made it up, or they made it up, or something. But it was something like, if there hadn't been a war, Hitler, Stalin, Churchill, FDR, they would have made film. Like if there hadn't been a war, because that's like the kind of people that it takes, because it's real like managerial types.
Actually, Leni Riefenstahl, sorry to cut you off. Leni Riefenstahl was quoted as saying, like, Hitler told her, if I hadn't been like Hitler, I would have been a director. Like, that would have been, that's a, I mean, who knows if he actually said that, but she said that he said that. So it's funny because she was obviously like, one of the most famous directors of all time. So Hitler's, Hitler's like, I handicapped my directorial ambition just so I could be their peer and allow you to be the director.
I could have been you. Yeah. But on the awards part of that, like, it's like when they make those awards, I mean, I'm pretty sure I know the answer is no, they don't really look at this, but I wonder, like, do they look at, oh, this guy, he ran a really tight ship and everything was under budget and on time. Like, that's so good for him. And he made a pretty good movie, so we'll give him the award. It's like, no, they just, like, even if you run over budget and your staff all hates you and someone, people kill themselves or whatever, you'll still win if you made like the right kind of movie. So they're not, I don't know that they're like looking at the managerial side when they give these awards.
Yeah, and I love, to some extent, every industry is like this, but I love industries where they have such a weird joining of skills, because it is in movies. It's like, yes, you have to have an artistic vision and you have to be the type of manager that gets projects across the line. And to me, like, for most people, especially most artistic people, those are not skills that they would have. And again, not to bring it back to football, but it's so funny that in college football, it's like, okay, you have to have a PhD level understanding of the game itself, but what really matters is like sitting in a living room and convincing a Southern mom to trust you. Like, why do those two things go together? Like, it's so strange that you're like, well, there may have been like the football genius of all geniuses, but he couldn't become a coach because like women found him creepy, so like he couldn't recruit. It's just like such a bizarre thing. And film is a little like that, where it's, maybe there's so many, dissatisfied, ruined, failure artists out in the world, and they all have a story about how they couldn't play the games or do the annoying corporate stuff that is necessary to getting big projects
Well, this
done.
is why I'm so defensive of Christopher Nolan, because he has, for some reason, he has all these haters, and it's like all he's done is he goes out every 2 to 3 years and tries to make a big cool movie that's enjoyable for like people who are maybe slightly smarter than average, and he consistently delivers, and he does these big projects, and apparently he's an excellent manager. Apparently his stuff is always on time and under budget, and he's got all these haters that are always like trying to bring him down. But I'm a Nolan defender for all these reasons.
Yeah, no,
I
I can't say Nolan movies touch me like that, but like I would never like talk down on him because clearly like it's objectively like I mean he makes more money than almost everyone out there. Like clearly he's doing something right. And I do think that when it comes to like the awards, they do sort of I think the industry people probably do factor that in. Like just like when they think best director, like who did the best job, like and like even if it did go, and sometimes sometimes the job that they do make it might have been messy, but like if the movie like was a huge hit, even if like the set was chaotic, like that's still. I mean, look at Titanic. Like Titanic was like a famous sort of like the trades were shitting on it every day, like for like months of production. But I mean, when it came out, could anybody like argue with the fact that like the directorial vision like succeeded? You know what I mean? So it's an amorphous thing, I think. But
yeah,
Arturo, have you seen Dunkirk?
I saw it when it came out.
Because if you were unmoved by Dunkirk, I'm concluding that you have more Aztec than Spanish blood.
Are you gonna say he's not white?
I mean, guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. No, I mean, I don't know. I just like he's never been like my top guy, but like again, like he clearly.
No, I get it. Yeah. Anyway, that was a good. I mean, bringing it back to Marty. What were we last talking about with Marty? I don't even remember. But
Chalamet's acting performance and whether it's Oscar worthy, I think.
Well, what I wanted to say is that with Chalamet, like there's some movies where it's like there's a Chalamet's almost in this movie. It's almost like you take Chalamet, he's like your top star in the NBA. You just surround him with like 3-point shooters, and just let the team cook. Like there are all these actors who like are sort of one note or not even real actors, but like they have their role, and like Chalamet's just can kick it out to them at the 3-point line and he can score like 50 points and they win. That's how this felt to me. Like, and that's how like his acting performance I felt like was best suited to like what the movie was trying to do, or like which is why I think it all goes back to like the directorial job. Like Safdie, this is in a sense some critics are like, oh, he's just making the same movie a third time. But it is like you hone like what you're good at, you hone like your ability to make the movie, with a certain budget. Like what you're doing, who you need to get. I don't know. That's why like the managerial side, it almost is like this impresses me as much on a technical level or on a managerial level as it does on an artistic level. This movie.
Yeah, let me put on my Ringer podcast network hat for a moment and say that I think Timothée Chalamet in this film is very evocative of Jaylen Brown's current Celtics season, which is like in certain ways it's very impressive, but in other ways it's like it's a very workmanlike 30-point per game performance.
That's valid.
So we were talking a little bit about the promotion, and this ties into this character being just an extension of Chalamet himself. The promotion was like a little bit special because they did a lot of it, and Chalamet himself is invested in like it's actually, I'm surprised more people aren't doing this. Maybe they'll start given how this went, but he's out there a lot, and he's not just I think a lot of other people just they do the rounds on late night shows, which no one watches anyway, and then they do some podcasts, and now they all go on like the Hot Wings show. But he does all that stuff, but he does like stunts and gimmicks too.
True, but that's like saying like why can't everybody just be like Trump on the campaign trail? You know what I mean? Like it takes us like that's why he's not normal. You know what I mean? Like he can do these. He can access another level.
That's true,
yeah,
Arturo.
He can pull it off. Yeah,
but I do think there is a degree of pulling it off or whatever, but I also think that Chalamet more than Trump makes me think other people aren't trying. Because
That's true.
the types of things Chalamet does of like going on streaming shows and like, playing video games with people, or even going on college game day and like appearing to know a bit about college.
Hey, thanks for listening up to this point. This does conclude the free section of the podcast, but if you would like to hear the rest of the episode, please consider becoming a paid subscriber over on the Substack. I'll have a link in the description of wherever you're listening to this. It means a lot to me to have people financially support the show, and it opens up what I can do and makes it easier for me to spend more time putting out episodes and stuff like that. So if that's something you can do, please consider it. Thank you very much for listening either way, and have a great day.